Miss Rain. Yeah. And this week I'm taking a break from reading the Phantom Toll Booth, and I'm gonna read a Halloween themed book, kind of called Miss Patty's Batty. It's from the My Weird School book series, which is a pretty funny in a sort of dumb little way young adult book, not young adult, young reader series, and I like it. I think they're really funny because when I was little, like second grade, I used to go to spelling tutoring, and my spelling tutor always had a bunch of them in her office. Anyway, so I read a bunch of them, and here's the Halloween one, which I think is pretty good. Yeah, here we go. 1. Mischief Night. My name is AJ, and I hate school. Well, I have to tell the truth. There's one thing about school that I really love. Dismissal. That's when we get to go home. Don't forget to wear your Halloween costumes tomorrow. Miss Patty crackled over the loudspeaker just before 3 o'clock. Halloween is my favorite holiday. She's not kidding. Miss Patty celebrates Halloween all year long. There are always cobwebs and spiders covering her desk. She wears earrings that look like skeletons, and she always has candy in her office. Lots of candy. I like Miss Patty. She's the secretary at elementary school. That means she sits at the front desk all day and makes announcements over the loudspeaker. Friday's pizza day, she will say, or Miss Lazar, please mop up the throw up in the vomitorium, or will the children who left their jackets in the playground please remove their clothes? Being a school secretary is like being a DJ. That is a cool job. I grabbed a piece of candy and ran out the front door of elementary school with my friends Ryan and Michael. Free at last! What should we do for mischief night tonight? Said Ryan, who once ate a piece of seat cushion on the school bus. Let's TP someone's house, said Michael, who never ties his shoes. Yeah! I don't know if you know this or not, but the night before Halloween is mischief night. That's the night you go out and do mischief, so it has the perfect name. And TP stands for toilet paper. On mischief night, you go out and throw toilet paper all over people's trees. That's the first rule of being a kid. Whose house should we TP? I asked. What about Miss Daisy's house? Ryan asked. Miss Daisy is our teacher. Nah, said Michael. We'd get in big trouble. What about Mr. Klutz's house? Ryan suggested. Mr. Klutz is our school principal. Nah, said Michael. We'd get in even bigger trouble. Speaking of trouble, guess who ran by us at that very moment? The most annoying person in the history of the world, Little Miss Perfect, Andrea Young. She is in our house and has in our class and has curly brown hair. She thinks she's so smart. What's the rush, Andrea? Asked Ryan. I have to finish my homework before ballet class, Andrea said. Why don't you do your homework after ballet class? Michael asked. After ballet class, I have soccer and my cooking class. Andrea takes classes in everything. If they gave a class in going to the bathroom, she would take it, just so she could get better at it. I hate her. But seeing Andrea gave me the greatest idea in the history of the world. Let's TP Andrea's house, I told the guys. AJ, you're a genius, Ryan said. 2. The TPing of Andrea's house. After dinner, I told my parents I was going down the street to Ryan's house. Ryan told his parents he was going down the street to my house. But Ryan and me weren't going over to each other's houses at all. We both went to Andrea's house. Our parents didn't have to know we were going out for mischief night. But Michael couldn't come. He was grounded for pulling the arms off his sister's doll. Me and Ryan each brought a roll of toilet paper in our backpacks. This is gonna be great, Ryan whispered as we hid behind a car across the street from Andrea's house. Andrea's gonna wake up in the morning and find the trees in her yard covered in toilet paper. I couldn't stop giggling. It'll be the greatest day in the history of the world. was starting to get dark out, but we still had to be careful because we didn't want to get caught. My friend Billy, who lives around the corner, told me that if you get caught TPing someone's house, the police put you in jail with no toilet paper. Yuck! But Billy is a big liar anyway. Me and Ryan tiptoed to Andrea's front lawn like we were spies on a mission. It was cool. Careful not to spit on the ground, I whispered as we pulled the rolls of toilet paper out of our backpacks. Why not? Ryan asked. You don't want to leave DNA evidence, I said. They could scoop our spit and prove it came from us. Good thinking, he agreed. I'm in the gifted and talented program at school, so I'm constantly thinking up genius stuff like that. Andrea's in the gifted and talented program too, of course. There's a really big tree in Andrea's front yard. It has a lot of branches, so it's perfect for hanging toilet paper. We decide to loop the toilet paper over the high branches first. After that, we would drape it over the low branches until the whole house tree was covered. Okay, I said once we were in position. Ready, aim, fire. I threw my roll of toilet paper as high as I could. Ryan threw his roll of toilet paper at the same time. Both rolls went sailing into the tree. There was one problem. The toilet paper rolls didn't unroll. One of the toilet paper rolls bounced off Andrea's house. The other one got stuck in the tree somewhere. It never came down. Bummer in the summer. What did we do wrong? Ryan asked. I guess we should have unrolled them a little before we threw them, I said. Now you tell me, said Ryan. We were going to pick up the toilet paper roll and try again. But suddenly a light went on inside Andrea's house. Andrea stuck her head out the window. Me and Ryan ran and hid behind the tree. Shh! I don't think she saw us. Daddy! I heard Andrea yell. Someone is throwing stuff at our house. Run for it, I told Ryan. We didn't stop running until we got home. Chapter 3. 3 Zombies. The next day was October 31st, my favorite day of the year. Do you know why October 31st is my favorite day of the year? I'm not going to tell you. Okay, I'll tell you. It's because it's Halloween, and that's my favorite holiday. Well, I guess my favorite holidays are my birthday and Christmas because I get presents. But on Halloween, you get candy, which is almost as good as getting presents. Halloween is so great. Think about it. All you have to do is walk around in a silly costume and people give you free candy. What could be better than that? It's a whole holiday devoted to getting candy. Whoever thought Halloween was a genius. If you ask me, that guy should get the Nobel Prize. That's the prize they give out to celebrate the invention of the first bell. When I marched up the front steps to school, Miss Patty was standing in the hallway. She was dressed like a witch. She had a long bent nose on with a huge wart on it. How did the wart stay on? She must have glued it on or something. It was gross. I'll get you, my pretty, she shrieked, waving her broomstick at this girl Annette. And your little dog, too. I don't have a dog, Annette told her. Front steps were filled with kids dressed as SpongeBobs and Batmans and Oompa Loompas and all kinds of weird creatures. Michael was wearing his Pee-wee football uniform, and he had an axe sticking out of his helmet with fake blood running down the side. It was cool. What are you supposed to be? Miss Patty asked him. I'm a football player, Michael said. Why do you have an axe sticking out of your helmet? I'm a zombie football player. Ooh, that's scary. Ryan was wearing his hockey uniform. He had an axe sticking out of his helmet with flake blood dripping down the side. Don't tell me, Miss Patty said to him. You're a zombie hockey player, right? How'd you guess? Ryan said. Lucky guess, she said. What are you supposed to be, AJ? I was dressed like a penguin who was wearing a space helmet that had an axe sticking out of it and fake blood running down the side. Penguins are cool. I'm a killer zombie penguin from outer space, I said. Ooh, that's very scary, Miss Patty said. Be sure to come trick or treating at my house after school. I'm going to have more candy than anyone in town. My address is 176 Norman Road. We'll be there, I said. We were putting our backpacks into cubbies when little Miss I Know Everything and her equally annoying crybaby friend Emily came in. Andrea was dressed like a ballerina, so of course Miss Show Up had to spin around on her toes to let everyone know she could dance. What is her problem? Emily was dressed up like a queen. She had a crown on her head and this long robe that trailed behind her on the floor. What's up with that? It's called a train, Emily told us. Oh, wait, I wanted to show you some costume pictures. Share screen. Okay, see, here's their zombie costumes and then the queen and ballerina costumes. No, it's not, I said. A train is something you ride in that goes choo choo. Everyone laughed, even though I didn't say anything funny. I thought those girls' costumes were lame. They weren't scary at all. It'd be a lot cooler if they had axes sticking out of their head like us. What are you boys supposed to be? Emily asked me and Ryan and Michael. None of your beeswax, I told her. We're zombies, Ryan said. I don't think children should be allowed to wear violent costumes on Halloween, Andrea said. Can you possibly be any more boring? I asked her. You're dumbheads, said Andrea. We are not. Are too. We went back and forth like that for a while until I had to say, so is your face, to Andrea. Anytime anyone says something mean to you, just say, so is your face, to shut them up. That's the first rule of being a kid. Hey, Arlo, Andrea said. I brought a present for you. She calls me by my real name because she knows how much I hate it. Michael and Ryan started giggling. Ooh, Andrea brought AJ a present. They must be in love. When are you going to get married? Asked Michael. If those guys weren't my best friends, I would hate them. Andrea opened her backpack and took out a roll of toilet paper. You must have dropped this outside my house last night, Andrea said. I guess you were having a bathroom emergency. I hate her. Why can't a truck full of toilet paper fall on her head? Andrea handed me the roll. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. I had to think fast. I wasn't at your house last night, I lied. I was at my class. Class? She asked. What's that? It's a class that makes you better at taking classes, I told her. You should take it. There's no such thing as a class. Excuse me, said Emily. Hey, Emily. I pointed under her desk. Look under there. Under where? Asked Emily. Ha ha ha, I yelled. Emily said underwear. Everyone cracked up because I made Emily say underwear. It was hilarious. Anytime you get someone to say underwear, you should get the Nobel Prize. You're mean, Emily said. Then she started crying and went out of the room. Emily is weird. Finally, our teacher, Miss Daisy, came in. Enough chit-chat, she said. Miss Daisy was dressed up as a giant brown ball. Only her head, arms, and legs were sticking out. What are you supposed to be, Miss Daisy? Guess. A basketball, guessed Ryan. Nope. A giant poop, guessed Neil. We all call the nude kid, even though he wears clothes. Nope, Miss Daisy said. I'm a big bonbon. Bonbons are those chocolate treats Miss Daisy loves. That's a great costume, Miss Daisy, said Andrea, who never misses the chance to brown nose a grown up. Oh, this is no costume, Miss Daisy said. I ate so many bonbons, I turned into one. I'm pretty sure she was kidding. Let's see the bonbon costume. Maybe I'll just keep this range. There she is. Okay. 4. The Emperor has no clothes. It's really hard to concentrate on schoolwork when your teacher is dressed up like a giant bonbon. All I could think about was the candy I would be getting when we went trick-or-treating after school. My mouth was water, but Miss Daisy was trying her best to teach us. If you go trick-or-treating and they give out Kit Kats at 5 houses and Milky Ways at 3 houses and Hershey bars at 7 houses, how many candy bars will you have altogether? AJ? Is anyone giving out Snickers? I asked. That's irrelevant, said Miss Daisy. No, it's not, I told her. An elephant is an animal with a long trunk. Everyone laughed, though I hadn't said anything funny. I hate Snickers, said Neil, the new kid. Nude. My favorite candy bar is the Three Musketeers. Let's try to stay on task, shall we? Said Miss Daisy. Teachers are always telling us to stay on task. That means we have to talk about boring stuff instead of interesting stuff, like candy bars. I like Twizzlers, said Ryan. Twizzlers aren't candy bars, Michael said. They're licorice. Ugh. Licorice is yucky, said Neil, the nude kid. Gives candy a bad name. We went on like that for a while. Nobody could agree about which candy bar was the best. After a while, Miss Daisy gave up trying to teach anything. All this math talk is making me hungry, she said. We were all excited to march around in our costumes, but Miss Daisy said it wasn't time yet. Finally, after 1,100,000 years, an announcement came over the loudspeaker. It's time for the parade, Miss Patty exclaimed. Please bring all classes to the playground. Yay, we yelled. Miss Daisy told us to line up boy, girl, boy, girl, boy, girl, boy. I think she does this, so each of us has to be next to someone we hate. I had to stand behind annoying Emily, queen of the crybabies. We marched single file to the playground. The whole school was out there in their costumes. It was cool. Even the teachers were dressed up. Miss Hannah, our art teacher, was dressed like a famous artist, Picasso. Miss Small, our gym teacher, was dressed up like a famous baseball player, Babe Ruth. Mrs. Carmel, our bus driver, was dressed up like a famous NASCAR racer, Jeff Gordon. Mrs. Rupee, our librarian, dressed up like a famous children's book author who I've never heard of. Authors are boring. A lot of parents came to see the parade. I saw my mom near the monkey bars. She waved and took a picture of me in my penguin costume. We marched all the way around the playground. I thought that would be the end of the parade, but then we had to march around again. It was starting to get boring. I was sweating in my penguin costume. I was tired. I didn't want to march anymore. My space helmet was fogged up and it was getting hard to see out. Sick of the dumb parade. I just wanted to go trick-or-treating. I needed candy. But that's when the most amazing thing in the history of the world happened. I stepped on Emily's queen costume. I didn't mean to step on her queen costume. Really, I was minding my own business, marching around the playground. But her dumb train thing was dragging on the ground behind her, and I couldn't see through my space helmet, and I guess I got too close to her and I stepped on the train. I would have been okay, except Emily kept walking like she didn't know I was standing on her train. What a dumbhead. Anyway, it must have been some cheap costume because it ripped really easily. Next thing anyone knew, Emily's whole costume was on the ground and not on Emily. Look, someone shouted, underwear. Well, the only thing funnier than getting someone to say underwear is actually seeing someone in their underwear. That's the first rule of being a kid. And Emily was standing in the middle of the playground in her underwear. There were even flowers on it. Everyone was laughing and pointing. It was hilarious. A real Kodak moment, and we saw it live and in person. You should have been there. I hope my mom took a picture. Eek! Emily screamed. AJ stepped on my train. It's a train wreck, I said. Get it? But Emily didn't think my joke was very funny. She started crying, of course, and went running off the playground. I don't even know where she went. Well, nan and a boo-boo for Emily. That's what she gets for dressing up as a dumb queen anyway. Chapter 5. I rule the school. We marched around the playground for about 1,100,000 hours. Finally, the dumb parade was over and we could go home. Or at least I thought we could go home. First, we had to go back inside the school and sit in the all-purpose room. There was a fancy chair up on stage. It was like one of those chairs you would see in a palace. When all the classes were seated, music started playing and a tall guy came into the all-purpose room, dressed up like a king. He was wearing a gold cape and carrying a big sword. It was Mr. Klutz, our principal. Even though he had a king crown on his head, I knew it was him because he's completely bald. I mean completely. Off with their heads, he shouted as he marched down the center aisle. Let them eat cake. Mrs. Daisy told us in the old days, kings were constantly chopping off people's heads and making them eat cake. That must have been a cool time to live. I like to eat cake, but I don't think I would like the chopping off your head part very much. I rule the school, Mr. Kuntz announced as he sat down in the fancy chair. Quiet down, or you will be thrown in the dungeon in the basement. That was a complete lie. Everyone knows the dungeon is on the 3rd floor. Cool costume, Mr. Klutz, some kid yelled. Silence, Mr. Klutz hollered. I know not this Klutz person you speak of. I am King Louis XIV of France. Why are you dressed up like a king? Ryan asked. As king, he replied, I need not worry about parent-teacher conferences and behavior problems and head lice and school bus schedules and test scores. I am all-powerful. What I say goes. Mr. Klutz was talking just like a real king. It was cool. After he finished acting all king-like, he talked to us about Halloween safety. He told us to have fun trick-or-treating, but look both ways before we cross the street. He said we shouldn't go inside any strange houses and we shouldn't eat any candy that isn't wrapped up. What should we do if we come to a house and they don't give us candy? Asked one of the 3rd graders. Off with their heads, yelled Mr. Klutz. What if some kids don't get any candy? Asked one of the 1st graders. Let them eat cake. Mr. Klutz enjoyed being a king a little too much, if you ask me. I couldn't wait to get out of school because, well, I couldn't wait to get out of school every day. But this day was special because we would be trick-or-treating and getting candy. Finally, the bell rang and we got out of jail. I mean, school. Everyone poured out the front door. Free at last, Michael shouted. It's candy time, Ryan yelled. Miss Patty was standing on the front steps of the school in her witch costume. Her wart still didn't fall off. She told us again we should make sure to treat at her house because she has more candy than anyone in town. And remember, she said, don't let the Halloween monster catch you. The what? I've never heard of a Halloween monster, I said. Oh, "Oh, sure," Miss Patty said. "Every year the Halloween monster chops up kids, steals their candy, and keeps it for himself." Yikes! Halloween monster? I looked at Michael. Michael looked at Ryan. Ryan looked at me. Then we all tore out of there as fast as we could. Okay, I'm gonna stop there and finish this book tomorrow. Hopefully, it'll definitely be done before Saturday, before Halloween. Anyway, thank you.